Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HBR Minute HCI podcast episode, I explore Dan Richards' recent HBR video, The Number One Key to Motivation. Welcome back to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I'm happy to be with you again for today's HBR Minute podcast episode. Today I'll be exploring Dan Richards' recent HBR video, The Number One Key to Motivation. In a recent multi-year study, researchers at the Harvard Business School first asked 600 managers from dozens of different companies to rank the impact of 5 factors that are normally associated with motivation: recognition, incentives, support for managers and colleagues, clear goals, and a sense of making progress. In this first phase of the study, recognition for good work was ranked by managers as the most important factor in motivation. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll catch you on the flip side of this first clip.
Today's topic is some breakthrough thinking from the Harvard Business Review on how you and your team can maintain motivation. For a number of years now, in January, the Harvard Business Review has published 10 breakthrough ideas. And this year, number one on that list was some new research on specifically what drives motivation. The researchers, who were a couple of academics at the Harvard Business School, started by polling 600 managers on what contributes to motivation among the people that work for them. And they were given 5 alternatives that are conventionally associated with motivation: recognition, incentives, clear goals, interpersonal support from colleagues and managers, and finally a clear sense of progress. And they were asked which of those is most important. Their answer was recognition. Recognition is considered the number one most important driver of motivation.
A very simple premise to this study: ask managers what they think motivates their people. And as they asked that question, very convincingly, to a 75% rate, managers said that recognition was very important. So I guess the question is, will that be consistent with what the employees say? Will they also agree that recognition is the most important factor in their own motivation?
So then what the researchers did is they went to several hundred knowledge workers and over a couple of years asked them at the end of each day to email an assessment, first of all, of their motivation that day, what their emotional level was, their enthusiasm level was, and then to actually indicate what happened over the course of that day to contribute to that level of positive or negative motivation. Here's what the researchers found. The number one factor by far that drives motivation is maintaining a sense of progress. 76% of the time, when the folks in the study reported that they'd had one of their very best days, they also reported 3/4 of the time that they felt they were making significant progress and that contributed to that motivation level. And conversely, when they had one of their worst days, when they were least motivated, highly correlated that was a setback in terms of moving forward.
So for employees, making progress turned out to be the number one factor in contributing to motivation, not recognition. So as managers, about 75% of the time, said that recognition was the most important, 76% of the time, the employees said it was actually related to making progress. Making progress added to motivation, not making progress demotivated and took away their motivation. And of course, that makes sense. We want to see that what we're doing matters and that we're accomplishing something. And when we can see the fruits of our labors and we can see what we're building or what we're doing, that feedback in real time, it's much more powerful than any recognition that we might get sporadically from our leaders. So that finding doesn't surprise me at all. Now, of course, this isn't generalizable to all workers. The workers in this study were knowledge workers, specifically 200, and I'm not clear on what the sample was, but it doesn't sound like there was any particular sample, perhaps a convenient sample. So we really can only talk about these results in relation to this group of workers, but still it's quite interesting. And I think what this study is highlighting is the disconnect between what managers think motivates people versus what actually motivates employees.
There are some important implications from this research in terms of how we stay motivated ourselves and how we maintain motivation among the people that work with us. If you've got people working with you, you want to ensure you're not an obstacle to progress. So you need to be consistent in the direction you provide. You need to provide them with the tools they need. You need to provide clear direction. Those are all important. But beyond that, one of the things we need to do is to find ways to recognize and acknowledge progress. You know, it's interesting. It's not that recognition wasn't important, because it was. The problem with recognition is that it is hard to recognize people constantly each and every day. Very hard. So we can't make recognition work for us every day, but we can acknowledge progress every day.
So recognition is absolutely important. The study's not suggesting it's not. What the findings suggest, however, is that there's a bit of a disconnect between what managers think is most important versus what actually is most important for employees. And the other issue with that is managers simply can't provide recognition constantly to people. And in fact, the power behind recognition, the motivating power, actually diminishes the more frequently you are recognizing people in major ways. So little amounts of recognition, little doses of feedback can be good on a regular basis, but that is hard to maintain for leaders. Now, I personally am of the opinion that leaders should be checking in with their people and providing feedback and even acknowledging their contributions on a pretty regular basis, probably at least weekly. But that's a little different than what we typically think about when we're considering the power of recognition and incentives for employees. Those are usually kind of bigger deals that only happen every so often. Now, for employees, they just want to know that they're making progress, and that is something with regular coaching and mentoring and regular ongoing feedback. That is something that managers can provide to their employees on a regular basis. And the thing is, they don't even have to do it themselves. It's not like the manager has to check in every single day with every single employee. That actually would be probably a little bit onerous both for the manager and the employee, and probably wouldn't be appreciated. It would feel like micromanaging. But you can encourage your people to keep track of what they're accomplishing. And he's going to give some tips on how you might go about doing that. I'm excited to announce the publication of my new book from HCI Press, Bluer Than Indigo Leadership: The Journey of Becoming a Truly Remarkable Leader. Early in my adult life, I learned about an Asian proverb that translates as bluer than indigo. If you think about the color indigo, it is a brilliant, deep, and vibrant blue, what some would call the bluest of blues. To have something that is bluer than indigo is rare and truly remarkable. Contrary to popular myth, there is no one-size-fits-all or cookie-cutter approach to effective leadership. There's no silver bullet, no secret sauce, no go-to model that will solve all of our problems. The truth is, great leaders have all had their unique strengths and flaws, and have all had to discover and then pave their own distinctive path in their life's journey to fulfill their leadership potential. Bluer Than Indigo Leadership will help you discover your own path and explore those ordinary, everyday actions that will help you respond to an uncertain future and produce extraordinary results for individuals, teams, and organizations.
So, for example, at the end of the day, before you leave, and before the folks you work with leave, take 30 seconds, write down, or put a file in your computer where you record 3 things that you got done that day that you feel good about. One advisor takes this one step further. Each morning, as part of their team meeting, they finish the meeting by having each of the people on their team indicate the 3 most important things that they want to do that day. Even if it's picking up the phone, making a tough call to a client that's overdue, that can be one of the 3 things. And they take turns recording it, circulating it, and they send an email within half an hour identifying what everyone's top 3 things were. That's how they end their meetings. The way they begin their meetings the next morning is by taking 5 minutes. And each of the people in the team go through their 3 things. And how do they do about it? 2 things have happened as a result of this. First of all, those 3 things have tended to get done. The moment that this advisor began doing this, because you're now creating some accountability, some peer pressure, the likelihood that those 3 things happened went up dramatically. But the second thing that happened is, even if they'd had a tough day, even if the markets had had a hiccup, people felt better because they were seeing clear signs of progress each and every day.
Very simple tips on how we can help people recognize the progress that they're making. And again, it doesn't need to be the manager constantly keeping their thumb on everybody and constantly being the one to tell people, good job, you made progress in this area. That's not what's being suggested at all. In fact, the manager can help facilitate the process of people sharing their goals, sharing in accountability, mutual accountability with each other about what they're trying to accomplish and what they got done. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do that. You can do that pretty quickly. Now, the one caveat that I think is important to mention as I was listening to this clip, I was thinking about, well, what happens if people just list off 3 easy things that they know they can get done, and so it won't be a stretch, and it doesn't really align as closely with the team's goals or the organization's goals, but they're relatively easy things that the person can get done. That's a potential downfall of this approach. It's not to say you shouldn't do it. It just means you need to be careful, because that could happen. That very quickly, it could erode, a well-intended mechanism could erode into that kind of behavior. And obviously that's not going to be helpful for anyone. We can't just have people going around doing all of the low-hanging fruit, easy stuff all the time. You have to dig down. You have to do the hard things. And there's many things that you can't get done immediately. They just take long, sustained effort. And so helping people think through intermediate steps in those longer, more sustained types of efforts that they need to do can be one way to encourage people to make steady progress each and every day while not resorting to just doing the easy stuff constantly.
So, as you think about how you stay motivated yourself, how you motivate the people around you, by all means, don't ignore recognition. Don't ignore incentives. But first and foremost, focus on ensuring that you and everyone around you is reminded of the progress you're making each and every day.
So we definitely want to make sure that we're helping people recognize the progress they are making, especially when people are getting bogged down in particularly long, difficult projects that are just going to take extended periods of time to complete. And it can feel overwhelming, and you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And so helping people experience small wins along the way and breaking big, huge tasks down into small intermediate tasks can help people feel like they're making that steady progress. In my own life, that's one of the things that I've seen that's helped me to tackle some pretty huge responsibilities and pretty huge jobs and tasks that have come my way. For whatever reason, I've been able to do a good job of not getting overwhelmed by those things, and maybe it just comes naturally to me, but I break things down into much smaller pieces so I can make steady progress, not only every day, but even every hour. I know what I'm doing. I know how I can accomplish some things, and I feel good about it. So I think as managers, we can just help talk people through that. We can help create an environment where people know that they're accountable to each other for performance and getting things done, but also that they know that they're going to be supported, particularly in doing the hard things. And it's usually the hard things that are going to help the organization the most in the long run. The other thing that was just briefly alluded to in that last little part of the clip was that we need to self-reflect. We need to self-reflect on what motivates us. We need to know our people so we know what motivates them. This study has some good insights, and everything that we've been talking about, I think, holds for a lot of employees. But the reality is we're not a monolith. Like, everyone has their own salient motivators. People are in different life stages. They have different pressures, different responsibilities, and so different things will motivate them. And we can't just do a one-size-fits-all approach. Recognition does matter. Surely helping people see progress in their work does matter. That's not to say that other important motivators also don't matter. And ultimately, we just need to know our people so we can help create an environment where they feel supported and they can find their motivation. As always, I appreciate you joining me for this HBR Minute episode, and I hope you stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day, and I hope you have a great week. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership. Ordinary, everyday actions that produce extraordinary results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life. Check out Human Capital Innovations magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine with the mission to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We publish issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Take a look at the latest issue and let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week.